I want to get to the murder, the brutal, barbaric murder. Robert Brooks. Let's start here, though. So, officers in Utica in a prison, basically 13 to 14 officers are being investigated by the FBI now, I believe. And I believe Letitia James has filed an investigation and released all this video cam footage. I'm not going to play it. Again, you guys have probably seen it by now. I highly suggest you watch it to see what I'm talking about, to understand the brutality and the barbarism of these people, these individuals. This is what I found funny. CNN puts out a report before allegedly participating in the beating of Robert Brooks. Before allegedly participating. They didn't allegedly participate. There's video, multiple video of them beating a man to death. There's no more allegedly. They beat a man to death. They beat a man to death. And I'm waiting for the people to say, well, we don't know what happened before he was in cuffs and helpless. And they beat the hell out of him. Literally beat him to death. Oh, we don't know. What was he like? Was he a crackhead? Or was he a criminal? Yeah, he was a criminal. He was in prison. He was being transferred. He was in jail, I think, for 12. I think he was supposed to be in for 12 years for assault or stabbing his ex-girl. Something. He did something heinous. He did something terrible. I'm not advocating for him, his life, in terms of how great of a prisoner he was or why he was in jail or wasn't in jail. It's not even relevant. He was beaten to death. He was a human being. I was very conscious on my social media. If you follow me on X, you can follow me on X if you'd like. If you're still on X and you haven't, abandoned for Blue Sky or something like that. I was really conscious to use the word in capital letters. I use human being. They beat a human being to death because I don't want to make it black, white, this, that. Because what are we really looking at? We're watching a human being being beat. And anyone can understand that. Whether you're Asian, white, it doesn't make a difference. If you watch a human being get beat to death, there has to be something wrong with you if you can somehow make the case that it was okay for the officers to do that. And there's always going to be somebody, probably in my own comments here, I'm waiting for you to show your ugly self, your keyboard, behind your keyboard carriage, that's going to say something like, well, he died because, he had something in his throat. He had a problem he was born with, and that's why he died. Him getting beat by 13, 14 officers, yeah, that had nothing to do with it. I'm waiting for some moron. Go ahead, be a moron and get in my comments and tell me that the death of Robert Brooks wasn't a direct result of him being pounded out, by a ton of officers. Go ahead and do that. You tell me. Anyway, this is another situation where it seems as if mainstream media news doesn't seem to take an interest in it. To me, this would be one of the leading stories. I purposely put on legacy media in the morning. Now, I didn't put on CNN, so I highly doubt they're making this their prime thing, right? But I would expect this to be in that first run of leading stories. Obviously, the first one would have been Jimmy Carter, right? Rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. I'm not going to talk about Jimmy Carter, about his presidency, what he's like as a man. I'm not going to talk about his politics and positions and what he did or didn't do during his time in office. I'm just going to show respect and say rest in peace to Jimmy Carter. But that would be the leading news. I get it. But nowhere did I see anything about Robert Brooks, a guy being beaten to death on camera. And all of these officers, mind you, all of these officers still have their jobs, and there's no, as of this date, at the time of this recording right now, 10:26 a.m. on Monday, December 30th, Eastern Standard Time, these men have not been brought up on charges, arrested, nothing. They should have been arrested immediately. It probably should take, at most, it should have taken 24 hours to do some quick investigation, look at a few things, question a couple of them, and then just drag them into cuffs and put them in cells, and then await for their arraignment and whatever it's going to be. But no, I believe they're still free, and I'm sickened by that. I am totally sickened by that. Then I find the morons on X who I appreciate, because again, I'm all for free speech, and I don't think we should stop people from saying things that we don't like or don't agree with. But you get people on X who are showing a BLM protest. I guess BLM got together to protest in New York, and they made the post to say BLM protest in New York, only 20 people showed What does that tell you? And then all the comments below were like, yeah, it doesn't really matter, and BLM is insignificant, and yeah, what does BLM stand for? Buying large mansions. I agree, and with the comments regarding BLM not necessarily being the movement it's supposed to be or should have been or live up to, and it clearly was a scam. I agree with a lot of that. However, I had to reply there and say, what are you suggesting, that a man, a human being, being beaten to death on camera is something that should just be swept under the rug or forgotten about simply because BLM's movement or BLM's particular protest in this matter didn't garner a lot of support? I don't understand the point of even pointing it out. It's as if to say the attitude of these people is, yeah, whatever, who cares? A man was beaten to death. And yeah, you know, you want to do that? A black man was beaten to death by a bunch of white officers. Again, hate to go there. I like to keep it first at the level of human. We're all human beings. A human being was beat to death. A black man was beat to death by a bunch of white people. I'm done. We'll see where this goes, because it gets me I get angrier and angrier by the second just talking about it, because I'm sick of it.